Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you? I hope you are doing well. We had a lot of fun last night. Things are going well. It took me a little bit longer to get here today because I decided I would have some iced coffee. So I was making my iced coffee. And then as I was blending is blended iced coffee. And then as I was using the blender, the gasket in the cup, the blending cup's one of those bullets that goes, the bullet blender, so the cup goes on top. Well, the gasket came unseated, and I spewed the bullet blender spewed coffee all over my kitchen, so I had to get that cleaned up. But I'm here now. Excuse me. So I hope everybody hasn't had that happen to them this morning, at least. So let's see who all's here. We had a fantastic game of HeroQuest last night. We had a game with the channel. We had a stream last night for the channel members, and you can go back and watch it. It's still on the channel. The channel members only stream last night. And then I also invited different channel members on the stream with me. So we had James Bacon, Zero the Blade, Tomocrat, and James Bacon, Zero the Blade, Tomocrat, and wait, who else did we have? Wait, I'm sorry. I'm forgetting. Oh, Robert. Robert was there. So we had Robert there as well. Why aren't I seeing my comments? Okay, there we go. I am now. So we had a fantastic game last night, so you can go back and watch that. All three of us were there. And we were playing Digital HeroQuest. We were playing with the Digital HeroQuest board that I've been trying to put together over the past 3 nights. Or 3 days, basically. A little bit longer than that, I guess. And it worked great. So we're going to talk about that. There are a couple of things to change on it, but it worked great, and we can talk about where we go from here. So let's see who is here with us this morning. We've got Stray. Good morning, Stray. Arturo. Good morning. Good morning. James is here. Welcome. VGD is here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Sable Phoenix. Listening to the Baldur's Gate 3 OST while waiting for the stream start. It's excellent. Good morning, Tomocrat. Yes, Ravenkeep Discord server. Thank you. Good morning, Brent. So we had a great time. If you're a channel member and you want to go back and watch that one on replay, or at least see you get to see some of the faces, and then also hear some of the other people who are always here in the chat. And also, it was a great game. We played one of the new quests. I chose it because I had never played it before, because they released a digital quest that's an alternate first quest online. The trial is the first quest in the main HeroQuest box, but they released a separate alternate first trial online. And so we did that one. It was a lot of fun. I'd never played it before. Good morning, Robert. Zero the Blade is here. Yes. Oh, and Robert's still talking about the AI text-based adventure system he's working on. Significant progress. Exits and coordinates and game console shown every turn thanks to JavaScript, meaning you can dial back the AI system prompt a bit. Nice. So produce game data, print into browser console, feedback into user prompt, along with some conversation history equals persistence. Super progress. Robert's one of the only ones that I personally know who is really using AI to do something awesome with. Nathaniel, good morning, everybody. Hey, let's go ahead and breathe and sip, and then we will go into the next thing. So I've got the Cultist coffee mug this morning, and it's filled with the blended iced coffee, so it is good this morning. Let's go ahead and breathe and sip. Everybody together. Some of you don't do this, so we're gonna breathe. We're gonna take a sip of our favorite beverage this morning after taking 2 deep breaths, complete exhales, and then sip. It's mental health. Let's do it. Here we go. And sip. Very good. Very good. All right, just 1 second. Okay. Let's see. So, yes, I noticed that some more orders have come in from the Ravenkeep online store. Stray says, remember to take advantage of the Ravenkeep online store sale for things that was 50% off and free shipping on carts of $99 or more at ravenkeep.net. Yes, and I'm probably going to keep this sale going until tomorrow. And I saw some more orders come in. So if you want to take advantage, ravenkeep.net is the store that I set up to host the things that we are creating here on the channel. And so we've got, but I'm working on I need to move some stuff out of the warehouse. So some of the stuff is stored in a Ravenkeep warehouse and some of it is out there, and I really need to move some of it out. So I put almost everything on the store at 50% off. And I think I will keep this up until tomorrow, but there are also a very limited number of items of some things left. Witch's Brew is sold out. War of Kings is the board game that my brother and I created. It is the combination of Risk and Settlers of Catan, so that you can both build your settlements around the board, collect resources, upgrade fortifications. Fortifications are in this too. We wanted to be able to build walls and fortresses and castles around our cities and things like that. And so we do this with this ring system right here. So this was the first game that my brother and I designed, and really and it was the first thing that I ever brought to Kickstarter. So he and I got it done. We published the game. There's only one box remaining. Oh, there is one box of War of Kings remaining. So if you want, that's the only one. That's the last one of the entire print run, and it will not be reprinted. So if you want to check out War of Kings, there is one box left if you want to grab it. And then also Enchantress over here. Enchantress was our second game. There are 4 boxes of that one remaining. Enchantress is a game of wizardly combat. It's kind of like a warband or a skirmish game. Everybody controls 3 wizards. And there's how to play in 2 minutes in the game trailer, and how to play War of Kings in 5 minutes as well. Everybody plays a team of wizards, and everybody is casting spells. Everybody's trying to fight one another. It's asymmetric. Every team is different, has different wizards and different spells. So every team fights differently on our game board. So you're in this magical arena fighting one another. It's our game of magical combat. All of the handmade dice trays are also on sale. So pick up handmade dice trays. And then I also have my line of 10mm miniatures. So all of those are available as well. So come by, check out ravenkeep.net. Helps out the channel. And now is the best time to get it. I can only ship to the U.S. The website only ships to the U.S. though. Oh, Arturo says, "Hi, all. Glad to catch up. I've been following the progress, and I have to say what an excellent job you've done with the digital HeroQuest, Heath. It looks really good. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Robert. Sorry about that. Yes, it was Robert who was on there. I know, Sable. Wednesday seems to be like a good day for the members only streams, but maybe different days in the future. We will see. But that was so much fun. Yep, Sable Phoenix picked up one. Yes. But if you're playing in person, then that's always a reason to not be a good reason to not be around in the digital space. If you're actually playing a physical game with people, whether that's friends or family, that's always good. That guy in the sky says, "Hi all, holy mackerel. The last HeroQuest video looks brilliant. Great job." Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it is. So, all right. So I wanted to talk about that, and then I want to talk about where we go from here. So let's go over here. So I was extremely pleased with how this worked last night. So this is the setup that we had to play last night, and it's basically what you saw yesterday. We did find a couple of other bugs, but actually nothing that influenced play. This was completely playable. I just noticed there were a couple of things that weren't uploaded quite right and things like that. Like, for instance, I can see over here that the old, I mean, this doesn't influence gameplay, but I've got the old throne and treasure chest over here, because I was afraid the furniture was the last stuff that I finally figured out some way to get in, because I was like, I could not find good tokens already existing online for this. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna have to draw it all myself. So I started drawing it myself, but then I realized, wait a minute, I painted all of the HeroQuest furniture. I could go photograph them. And so what these tokens are based on, and this looks pretty cool, are photographs of my painted HeroQuest furniture. So that's in. So that all works. So the furniture got in, but I noticed that the treasure chest and the throne didn't get re-uploaded. So those still have the drawings in. I mean, you might not even notice. I didn't notice until into gameplay, but I need to change that up. We also had, for the sake of gameplay, we thought that it might, even though one of the issues is we're running out of space here on the board. But we might want some way to indicate how many dice a player can roll to attack or defend. And so it can't really be a counter like this because the counters take up so much space. But I'm thinking about putting some kind of icons over here. that's really not essential. It's not essential on any stretch of the imagination, but it would be nice to be able to indicate that then, because the players do have to, you might receive a buff. So, like for instance, with the broadsword over here, you got 3 combat dice, but if you drink some kind of potion or something like that, then you could have 4. So rather than having to mark that down on some other sheet of paper to remember or something like that, you could indicate it over here in some way. So I'm thinking about that. Stray recommended some kind of tokens over here, kind of like in Guardian Legend that had shields or guns, but like you do shields or swords to indicate that. And it would also, if you were streaming this like dinner and a board game, because I plan on using this for dinner and a board game as well, that would allow people who are watching the stream to also get some kind of visual representation of the attack power on both sides. So I'm thinking about that. And then also, by the way, we need more gold coins. That part's easy, but we need more gold coins so that people can pick up and track their amount of gold. And then I'm going to reread the entire HeroQuest book because, it's, I don't know how, I played this game for decades. I love this game, but I need to read the entire book cover to cover because we've always just played the way we played. I mean, I started playing this when I was a kid, and so I wasn't the one who even read the rules. Like, my mother read the rules. She was playing Zargon. And then, we referenced the rules. And now, wait a minute, we need a clarification on something like this. But I don't know how long it's been since I've actually sat here and read the entire rule book. And so I need to read the entire rule book to make sure that I'm playing exactly the way that it should be played. Although, as it came up last night, they did not clear up some ambiguity in the new release. There is some ambiguity in this, and so everybody has their own kind of like house rules for the way they play or the way they interpret certain cards. They should have at least fixed that, I think, in the re-release. I'm glad in the end they did a re-release that was a re-release of the standard game rather than trying to change it up. But they should have at least done some clarifications on a few things that are ambiguous, and it seems like they didn't do that. So that's a failing in my part. So there's always some things that some people have to adjudicate with home rules. But I do want to actually make sure that I have the complete understanding of actually the way that it plays in the rules, particularly with regard to drawing treasure cards and things like that. So that was fun. But it worked very well. What else was I going to say about this? Okay, so I've got a few things I need to fix before we can go. Fix is playable, but this afternoon I'm going to spend a little bit more time going here and cleaning up those things that, and perhaps adding in the attack and defense tokens. And then it'll be ready to play. I'm coordinating a new dinner and a board game pilot episodes. This is kind of like I call it a pilot. I guess this will be the fourth pilot because there was like a third pilot in a different format when I was sitting here playing solo, and I really enjoyed playing the solo quests. I wanted to do that, especially with the app. It allowed me to do that because I like to play too. I often Zargon now, it seems like, but I also love to play heroes as well. So that allowed me to do that. But I'm organizing a new pilot. So that will be sometime next week. Now, we're eventually going to need a dedicated day. We're going to need a schedule. And I'm also moving, I'm creating a dedicated dinner and a board game channel. It'll still stream here. So if you're here on the Geekverse, for at least the time being, you're getting all barrels here. But I also think it would be a good idea to put together a new channel that's only dinner and a board game. I thought about that a long time ago, but I wasn't able to create dinner and a board game fast enough. But now with the digital environment, I am able to do that. So it seems like now returning to its own channel. So people find that and they like that. If other people come in and they find it, they would know that, hey, this channel is just about dinner and a board game. So next week, I'm trying to get together a group of players to test out. So we did the test game last night, but to test out the new dinner and a board game format and hopefully do that pilot sometime next week. It will probably not be next Friday. I like to play the games on Friday, but it just seems like the people I'm asking on this short notice are not available next Friday. So it might be another day. We'll do another pilot, see how it goes, see how we like it, and then get on a schedule with that hopefully the week after that for like 5 straight weeks, something like that. See if I'll schedule like 5 games or something like that. It'll be fun to have more people back on Dinner and a Board Game. I mean, it'll be fun to do that. So that will be great. Lady of Pain says, note about the West March from yesterday. Multiverse DM tools are modular and system agnostic. You do not have to use the game system to benefit from its tools. So we're going to be talking about that, the West Marches and RPG influence here in just a moment. Got the box? Excellent. Robert got the box. Robert got the War of Kings box. That guy in the sky says, Heath, with the digital HeroQuest, do you think you could add in all the other heroes from the extensions, etc., and have like 8 players, etc.? Well, one thing. Now, well, okay, so the major obstacle to that at the moment is the amount of space that I've got here. One limitation to the software that I'm using is that I can't scroll. Like, it would be nice if I could have, I can't scroll on this board. Like this is what you're looking at is what it is, which has advantages and simplicity, but there's also a negative in that. So it's mainly space that is my problem. So, I mean, this is set up like if I stand up from this seat right here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 places for the players, for the heroes, and then a 5th place to sit down for Zargon. I believe that somebody else could be in here and just playing. And if you were not playing streaming or something like that, which I want to do that as well, then you could probably put somebody else in here, but they just need to track their stuff manually, which isn't necessarily a problem. I was trying to keep everything digitally here, but I mean, if you have a little notepad sitting beside you as you play, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. To track your hit points and things like that. So space is the primary issue to putting more heroes in here. Now, some people have asked about could you add in the other heroes from the expansions, etc. I don't have any other heroes. So maybe I need to eventually, I guess eventually I'm going to need to get the get the new version to figure out, because I think there is a bard and a druid and things like that, and that's not loaded in. Now, those other heroes could be loaded in, but you still just have a 4-hero team. I think that there isn't any reason why that shouldn't be able to work. We used to play HeroQuest with more heroes too, because when we used to play HeroQuest as a kid, we had like 6 heroes. Because everybody, the extended family came over to play. Aunts and uncles came over to play. So when we played HeroQuest, we played with a full team. And so we had to add in extra heroes ourselves. We had an Amazon and a Hobbit. And my uncle, that was back in the days before you could just go and buy a whole bunch of miniatures. So the Hobbit was custom sculpted by my uncle. And then the Amazon was a Ral Partha miniature that we had found. And we made up stats for them. So we used to play with 6 heroes, but that does mean that Zargon has to buff the bad guys. So I guess if there were other heroes that were in here, we could drop some hero cards on here and let people either choose different heroes like that bard or the wizard or the druid. I would need those cards though. And then if you're playing, if I'm standing at, so I'm not sitting here right now. I'm not sitting down right now. And I can still manipulate the table. Now, what that does mean, though, is that you're not going to have a hand. So if I go down here, well, actually, I may be wrong about that. I'm not sitting down in a seat, and yet I'm still able to put cards in my hand. Well, that's interesting. So that potentially means that 6 people could come in here and sit down and play. Would have to try that out. That, again, we're pushing the software to its limit here. So that might work. I haven't loaded in anything from Kalar's Keep or Return of the Witch Lord. I think that needs to be, what I'll do is once I get the basic game system down, I'll copy it and then do a dedicated Return of the Witch Lord one and a dedicated Kalar's Keep one, removing the things that you don't need for those expansions and adding in the new stuff that you will need. That way, because like there are certain monsters that you don't need for games. Like in Kalar's Keep, you don't need the undead, I believe, and in the Return of the Witch Lord, you don't need the greenskins. So that'll help clear up at least some things on the board potentially. I'm thinking that's how it's going to go. But first, I'm working on just making sure that the basic game system is in. If that was a good reason. If that was a good answer. Zero the Blade says, I feel like the wizard should go first because of the spells I have. That's the conclusion that ultimately I came to. When I was playing my group HeroQuest, the wizard leads. Now, the wizard, because of that reason, that way the wizard can get in, has line of sight to cast spells, and then the rest of the heroes have to come in behind the wizard and defend the wizard. I think that works generally pretty well. The downside is then the wizard steps in all the traps, and the wizard doesn't have that many hit points. I don't know if the card can roll dice, but you might be able to hack it with a button. You can use a button for automation, and there's not really a whole lot to automate here in HeroQuest, but you might be able to, if you got to roll a certain dice based on a certain card, that may be difficult. James says, my problem is that I see 3 remaining and I use it as an excuse to drag my feet. I'll grab an Enchantress instead. Yeah, don't drag your feet. Yeah. 3 remaining is not a lot. Can you control the CSS font size? Can you control the CSS font size? Let's. I don't know if I can see. Let's just edit the counter. The counter, yeah. See, the counter doesn't have very many options at all. It's the text label for the counter, which right now I don't want. Oh, top label. And like I said, I did not want a top label because I needed it side by side. So I had to just use text for BP and MP, and then increase, decrease count by this many. So yeah, I'm constrained here. I would love to talk to the guy who's developing this, because there are a few other things that would be nice to have. This is playingcards.io, so he may not be interested in board games at all. It just maybe happened to be the case that this works really well for board games. One thing I would like, it's really nice. Genie, water, feeling, sleep. Oh, this goes over here. It's like, wait, what's going on? That goes over here. It's really nice that it fans out your cards down here, but I noticed sometimes I don't want that. It would be nice because like Zargon, it would be nice to be able to take, if you're playing Zargon, take these skeletons right here. I don't really need all those skeletons to be aligned like that down here. It would be fine if they were all just stacked on top of each other if they were down here. So it'd be nice to have some kind of option for that. But if you've got hands, it's designed for cards. So it makes sense for your hand to be spread apart down there. Zero the Blade says, hey, Heath, I was curious if you could screen share a spectator view. Can I screen share the spectator view? I don't know a whole lot about that. So let's go to, now let me refresh getting into this room. So it does say enter. I thought I could click on spectate. So I guess if you're not sitting down, then it calls that a spectator view. We came up with the idea that we could share, if we're streaming, somebody's some other player's screen to get their screen, but it would be difficult to switch back and forth during the game. So I hadn't played around with spectator, but I guess this is the spectator view. I don't really understand why. I don't really understand why it has enter, and spectate. I just had never pressed that button, but that's actually not a button you can click, I don't think. So don't know. Now, see, that's also what I need. That's the last thing that I need. That's really what we need. Dry erase marker or whiteboard function at all in the software. We need that. We need that badly. That's the last major thing that we need. Hey, TSL frontman. If I could choose just one more thing to have, it would be that. Absolutely. Okay, so that's where we are on HeroQuest. So it's basically done this afternoon. I guess I will spend hopefully not more than an hour, but an hour or 2 hours, something like that, and clean up the small little things that I saw, and then basically we will have a HeroQuest ready. Let me take that down for just 1 second. So I want to talk about one of the reasons we played last night, and then, of course, my mind was thinking because it went so well. And we're going to talk about the ramifications on that. But one thing I've got over here, let me go over here. So we want to know, so I want to be able to do two things with this. I've been designing it to be able to play dinner and a board game with, but I was also designing it so that we can play games. Because, I've been talking about for months, it would be really great if we come up with some way to play games together. So I've been turning... And we're a digital community, so it'd be nice to be able to play games digitally. If you've got a game going on one night with friends and family physically, then you can do that. But do that. Absolutely. That's the best way to go. But if you don't have that, then actually that digital version of HeroQuest, I mean, I had a great time last night playing with everybody. It worked great. It was so much fun. And I would say that it definitely 100% scratched the HeroQuest itch to play. You're sitting down to play, you want to play a game. Okay, well, don't have physical people around. Well, that certainly allowed you to play the game, and it felt like playing HeroQuest. We had excitement, with the misses and hits with monsters and rolling dice and things like that. Totally fun. We need people who want to play. So here's what I was thinking. I need to know. Well, first of all, I know if there are anybody who is interested in playing. Let me. I got something over here. Let me get this link. If you're potentially interested in playing, then let's bring up this right here. Does this language work right here? The Ravenkeep Online Gaming Tavern. Would you like to be a part of the Ravenkeep Online Gaming Tavern? Let me know below. We're setting up an online system and network of players for HeroQuest, One Night Werewolf. I want to build out some other games in this as well. HeroQuest is complicated. One Night Werewolf is already ready. I want to do Dominion. Dominion would be a lot of fun, and it's just a card game. But then we can build out more games. We've got access to more games as well, because some people have already built them. What is the other? What is the open source? Open source table. No, playing cards. .io. Oh, virtualtabletop.io. So there is also I guess some people were like, wait a minute, we need an virtual tabletop. It still exists, doesn't it? Oh yeah, here it is. So some people basically recreated playingcards.io as an open source virtual, it's called virtualtabletop.io, and they already loaded in a bunch of games. So these are all playable right now. Cards Against Humanity is here, Capture the Flag, which is similar to Stratego. So Stratego is here. Carcassonne has been imported. Some of these I know, a lot of these I don't. But nonetheless, there's some games other people have built out, but I want to build out some other games as well. in playingcards.io. So that way we have a library of games also that kind of function on the same software, because there are two different learning levels here, unfortunately. But it's just the way that it is when you're doing something digitally. There's learning how to play the game, right? And then there's also learning how to interact with the software. So it'd be really nice if we did use the least number of different types of software to run the game as possible. That way, you get familiar with how particular software works. And playingcards.io is really easy with the software, and I think it's pretty intuitive. But initially, you have to figure out, now, wait, how does the software work? And then how does the actual game play? So it'd be nice to not have to relearn, both of those every time you try to play a new game, which is a downside to some of the stuff that was inside the tavern, inside the virtual coffee shop. It had some built-in games, but the built-in games were trying to do a lot more enforcement of the rules, which meant that you had to actually figure out not only how to play, but also how that interface actually worked for a particular game, which is fine. It just it requires a shallower learning curve. So I'd prefer to just, if it's easy, to build out some of the games inside of playingcards.io and just use those. But at any rate, so I got Dominion. I got One Night Werewolf built out. Dominion might be next. It would be great to put Secret Hitler in. And then perhaps do the West Marches style RPG game. I think that right now what we need to do is we got HeroQuest right now, and HeroQuest is classic and people love to play it. I think we need to basically do HeroQuest West Marches. We need to get people together who want to play HeroQuest and do the original box, and coordinate who wants to play HeroQuest through the original game system. So if you potentially would like to be a part of this, I need to be able to let you know. So sign up here. I've just got a place for your name, your email address, and then whether or not you would be willing to be Zargon in HeroQuest or otherwise a GM in a game that needs one. So if we need other type of games, and of course we can put others in as well as we go. We'll just build this out. I'd be willing to be Zargon in HeroQuest or otherwise a GM in a game that needs one. Yes, no, or maybe. You don't have to be completely committing, but yes, no, or maybe. If you are willing to, especially if you're willing to Zargon HeroQuest, because I'm going to Zargon some, and also I'm going to set up some. We got to practice scheduling. I think this will also be a good practice as far as trying to potentially run a West Marches style game from the scheduling. Because actually, there's a lot of components to that. As I'm thinking of that, but we can practice scheduling games, setting up games, playing a whole bunch of games, and that's from the administrative side. That's going to be necessary for a West Marches style D&D game, or it's not necessarily D&D, a West Marches RPG game. So we can kind of practice all of the administrative side of that, scheduling the games, getting everybody together, HeroQuest, using HeroQuest, and also that allows people to play HeroQuest. I mean, if you haven't experienced HeroQuest, it's a classic. It's easy to learn, it's easy to play, and of course, there are a lot of people who would probably play more HeroQuest and would love to go through the box, whether as Zargon or as a hero. And hey, we could just do that digitally now. So let me put out the link here. Send. So if you're potentially interested, we'll put this link here. That just went into the chat. Good morning, folks. Oh, I think we've already said hello to TSL from him. That's okay. Hello again. welcome, especially all the channel members. You really make everything happen around here. I really appreciate all the channel members. And then link it to the coffee shop. Right. Yes. So I think that, it can be done without the coffee shop or with the coffee shop. I think the coffee shop is fun. The coffee shop also gives you voice and video, because playingcards.io doesn't have built-in voice and video, but that's okay. There are a lot of other ways to run voice and video. One way would be to run that within the coffee shop. You can also set up, like Raven, you can also set up Discord servers for voice or voice and video. Discord has video, right? I don't think I've used Discord for video, but it does have it. So you do have to run. I guess that's actually three things. You got to learn. You got to know how to play the game, but you can learn. But that everybody learns how to play board games. You need to be able to use the software that the game is actually running in. So we want to make that as simple as possible. And then I guess there is actually a third step that Sable Phoenix brings up is learning how to use or integrate the voice and video. Those aren't big things, especially for most of us around here. But that means that three components that would have to work together really well. But the tavern does give you, or the coffee shop does give you the game tavern, the game coffee shop, yeah, same kind of thing. That gives you the ability to walk around, chat with people, walk around to different tables, and does hook you up with voice and video chat to the people at your table. So that's nice. And then, when you sit down at the table, you can immediately plug into playingcards.io. That's another reason I was thinking about that. James says a whiteboard could get messy. You give a whole bunch of people on the internet tools to create, and the first thing they're going to make. James says, I agree. The last time I played HeroQuest was like 3 decades ago with my brother. Arturo says, I guess if you, as Zargon, can have the trap tiles and enemies down in your card section, you gain space for other stuff. Where the black column is, yes, you do. Zargon can put stuff, but see, that was my original thought, that Zargon would take all of that stuff and put it in his hand at the beginning of the game. The downside to that is that because by default, it spreads everything out down there in the bottom. So you see all 6 zombies or all 6, skeletons or whatever. It takes up a lot more space actually in Zargon's hand. And Zargon does need his hand for other things. I wish it would stack up. Sounds like a good time, Nathan says. Stratego, yeah. I played that with my grandfather a lot. I played a lot of Stratego with my grandfather. Hey, Charlie. Charlie says, I'm cutting limes right now. I'm a bartender, so in setup mode for day and night. Nice. Oh, I didn't click. Oh, the link didn't. Oh, I hit enter. Okay, so the link just went into the. Okay, I didn't hit the link yet. So, okay, so there's the link right now. Ravenkeep Virtual Taverns. That's the forum link right there. So if you're potentially interested in being a part, if you're potentially interested in playing games, we'll need some type of we'll have to come up with something for like unlimited access to the tavern or something like that. But anyway, so finally the link just went in. So that forums.gl, that is the forum there. We'll need some kind of critical mass of people who are interested. Especially because if we want to run multiple games at multiple times because people are in different time zones and things like that, then we'll need several games to be going on so that people, the games are available when you want to sit down. And that way, if you're playing HeroQuest West Marches style, you just save your character. This forum can only be viewed by the owner's organization. Well, why would that be? Well, how do I do that? When you make a form, why can't you just send people to it? Let's see. Settings, responses. Does anyone know where I'm supposed to be going? Privacy settings. There should be a share button on Google Docs. Yeah, this is something through Google. So let's see. How moronic. Oh, settings over here. So, okay, settings. There's settings here. So by default, it's restricted. Okay, so now try it. I'll try in a private window. That allowed me to access it in a private window. So that might be, it might be now. Sorted. Okay, R2. Okay, so now it's sorted out. Okay, so excellent. Okay, it works now. Okay, excellent. Why is that on by default? Okay, excellent. Okay, so please do. So here is, I'll post the link again. I'll call it the interest link, virtual tavern interest link. So, I mean, you're not committing to anything, but this is just if you're interested, that way people can let me know. Because we do need some type of critical mass of people. How to organize. The issue, one of the issues with the coffee shop is the coffee. So the coffee shop does, I'll have to purchase the coffee shop software in order to actually make this function. If we're going to use it that way, which I think is a really cool thing, but we'll have to purchase that software. Robert says it's work. Okay, so we've got confirmation now. Okay, sorry about that. Minor snafu. So that the coffee shop situation is will have an expense associated with it. So there will probably be there'll be some kind of cost because we'll have to cover the cost to run the software and things like that. So we will see. But at the moment, if you're interested, that is the place to be. Okay. And we'll see how many people are interested. If it's 6 people, ultimately, then might not be something to be done. But if it's 30 people or 100 people, well, then we would have gamings. Tie the coffee shop to your top tier membership here somehow. Yeah, see, that's possibly what I was thinking too. That you could either do well, we could tie the top tier coffee shop to the membership somehow here on this channel, or if the coffee shop or the virtual tavern or whatever needs to do basically this, it needs to be its own thing, because there might be people who are interested in just the gaming side of things but aren't interested in the YouTube sort of things. That could be run through some type of like Patreon or something like that. You pay by the number of people who are going to be in. And it's more expensive than I would like, because it's geared toward geared toward offices and geared toward businesses. So you pay by the person monthly. So well, think about that. So we'll have to come up with either top tier on the list on the channel here, or something through Patreon. Now, from the simplicity of right, yeah, it's a bit pricey. So we'll see. And again, it's also one of those things about how many different types of systems do you want to run. If it needs to be something separate, then it might need to run through Patreon. but it would also be nice to be able to tie it over here. But then you're managing two different systems in order to get people into one system. So we got to think about that. That's part of the administrative side of that. So there's the game side running it. There's all of that. There's also the administration side of trying to run a virtual tavern, gaming tavern. So we will see. We'll see. That's the kind of stuff we got sorted out. This is also the principle of starting before you're ready. So, go ahead. I mean, a lot of things has been like this with this YouTube channel. We start and then we revise. So there's a lot of start, trying something out and then revising. So there'll probably be different things we try and then are revised as well as far as this goes. So we'll start and then we'll see who is interested. And then if something doesn't work, well, then we will stop doing that and we will revise then. Jump off and learn how to fly on the way down. That's the best way to do for most things. For most things, it seems like. Not actually jumping off and flying or parachuting, I guess. But for most things, it seems like just get started. I mean, because we're about to talk about the RPG design things, which I was thinking about last night after HeroQuest. And rather than sitting down and saying, okay, now what is this going to be? Get started doing something like playing HeroQuest or using the virtual tabletop and something like that. And then the ideas start coming. Okay, so let me take that down. This has been consuming all of my creative time lately, getting that ready and all of this up. Let's, I need my West Marches notes. There we go. Just scroll up. Scroll up. There's a link to a Google form. Good morning, Neutromancer. TSL says, not waiting until you're ready is invaluable advice. I wish somebody screamed that at me when I started my game dev journey. Yeah. Neutromancer says, so is that a corporate service thing? Yeah, it's a corporate service thing. Right. Yeah. It's really nice. The rocks. Yes. Yes. The rocks. Also, thank you so much for the $10, Stray. Yeah. So trying to move big rocks. I mean, there are a lot of projects going on. So next Wednesday, we'll probably hopefully we'll be back to World Building Wednesday, and we'll also talk about the status of a bunch of different projects. But getting the virtual tavern off the ground has been one of them, and also getting the situation for, I feel like I'm blurry here. Getting the shows re-uploaded. I've been uploading video. I was uploading to the new channels and things like that. So there's a whole bunch of admin stuff that's going on. Try to get this kind of stuff. So yeah, we got to move the big rocks. Reminds me of that fella back home who fell off a 10-story building, and as he was falling, people on each floor kept hearing him say, so far, so good. So far, so good. I do not know that quote. I heard Corps are really into Werewolf and other social deduction games. Well, that's why One Night Werewolf is built into that that coffee shop software. It's built in, but that's why it does have that game built in. But like I was saying, it's not built in a virtual tabletop kind of way. It's kind of built in a hard-coded kind of way, which means that every different game has its own software, right? It's not like the virtual tabletop that's the software and then you just play any type of game. So yes. Now another fun one would be Secret Hitler. Has anybody out there played Secret Hitler? One of the best times. I don't know if I can come up with the best time at the gaming table, but definitely I would say top 3. One of the top 3 times I've ever been at the gaming table was playing Secret Hitler. That was so much fun. It'd be fun to put that one in as well. Okay, so what was I doing? Let's see. Let's bring this screen share this. Good morning, PH. So this is West March's notes. So this is kind of the notes we were looking at last time. And we were talking about what do we need? And I was thinking one of the things that we had talked about when we were talking about Faded Edge, and this as of last week, I'd kind of put Faded Edge on the back burner, and this was the RPG that I had been working on because I would like to make an RPG. There's so many people who are making different RPGs right now, and I'd been working on the script writing and then the virtual tavern stuff here, and then the world building stuff. And I was like, well, no, wait a minute, maybe I should just slide the RPG development to the back a little bit. But you know, I had said that one of the design goals for that was to make playable online. And you know, a lot when people are talking about, hey, everything's moving online. I guess at that moment I was thinking about that and saying that kind of thing. That kind of, I guess, had a negative connotation because that was when all the stuff was going on with Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons, and then be like, hey, is this moving to just an all online kind of thing with a virtual tabletop and then like micro transactions for all kinds of things like that. But on the other end, but what I was so I wasn't talking about something like that. I was talking about making it playable online, and even kind of an online first, even an online first kind of gaming philosophy, but I was thinking about that in terms of what we did last night, because a lot of people will have access to more gamers if it's online. Even if you've got an in-person group, it's better if you can play online. But you want to be able to, you know, if you don't have an in-person group, or you want to play more than your in-person group and get together, then playing online does seem to make a lot of sense. And you want to connect with people. You want to be able to do this easily, and then you want to be able to play it easily as well. So basically, I was talking about exactly what we did last night with HeroQuest, and that worked. And I was especially excited about that last night after we got off the game. And I was like, so that was it. When I was talking about making something playable online, you know, with this philosophy, you need a connection to somebody by a video or voice call. And then you need some type of platform that allows you to manipulate things as if you're at the gaming table. And boy, we found it. So now I'm thinking about that kind of development, that basically the game needs to be able to run. So, you know how constraints actually facilitate creativity, right? When a lot of people don't think that, but it's actually so true. Now, a lot of people around here might agree with me or might know that intuitively, but constraints are such an important part of creativity. Drake will talk about that when he talks about writing. When I go invite Drake on again, he was one of the first people who I saw write that down. He had an extensive section on writing about constraints facilitating creativity. So that's actually part of this. The game needs to run in playingcards.io, or the open source version or something like that. But something like that, if it runs in that, like, so design it. The game needs to be designed so that it can run really effortlessly in something like not playing cards, but that's playing cards. .io. That's a constraint, but on the other hand, first of all, it's not that constraining because I really like that software. It's lightweight, but it needs to be able to run in playingcards.io, and if you connect to other people, then you'd be able to run. One of the things that made that work. Now, another thing that I was thinking of last night, and I brought up at the end of that stream, was that we basically played HeroQuest for 3 hours. It was basically a 3-hour stream, but we did a little bit of chatting in the end, and it took a few minutes for people to get into the game anyway. So it might not have actually been exactly 3 hours worth of gameplay, but it was a 3-hour session. And it occurred to me at the end there that was basically the idea of a West Marches style game, that you wanted like perhaps the length of each game to be a bell curve sitting on centered on 3 hours. Some might go a little bit longer, to the extreme being 4 hours, but a lot of people are not going to have a 4-hour session to sit down with anyway. And then some might end up being a bit shorter, down to 2 hours, but maybe we have this bell curve sitting on 3 hours. That was basically a HeroQuest game. We sat down, we played that HeroQuest game in 3 hours, like effectively. And we did some chatting. You don't want it to be so intense that like there can be no chatting or talking or having fun or casual conversation or something like that at all, because every single minute of this, you want to direct yourself to the game. But we also talked some too, so it wasn't like we were just constantly at the game like every single second. No spare words, no words to spare. We got to play this game. So that was actually a pretty good way to go. So that's why I was thinking that you could just run HeroQuest West Marches style through that main box. Let people assemble teams of heroes and things like that, organically to go through all of those. It's about that amount of time. But if you're trying to put together an RPG and you're trying to put together locations to explore and dungeons to explore, basically what you're trying to do is put together something like a HeroQuest game. And one of the reasons that this worked, I think, well, is the visual representation worked very well. Everyone knows the physical situation. So, that's not theater of the mind. Nobody has to ask in HeroQuest, which is really nice. And I was thinking about this last night. Nobody has to ask in HeroQuest, okay, so where am I? How far away is that monster? Is this person within range? Can I cast a spell on this person? If you don't have like the game map, that is an advantage to a game map, that you basically eliminate all of those questions. So I think that this has been a little bit controversial here, but I still think that's a good idea. That's a good principle, that if this was something the Angry GM wrote, that if the players have to ask a question, then you haven't provided enough information as the game master. It's not perfect. Like that's why some people came up with some situations and things like that, and that's fine. But generally speaking, I think he's right that if it's the player's turn to act, if the player has to ask a bunch of questions in order to figure out what type of action to take, the game master hasn't provided enough information, and you're slowing the game down. When it's the player's turn, that player needs to have all of the information that they need in order to act and take their turn and do something. Because you don't want, okay, it's my turn. Oh, okay. You don't want the player asking a bunch of questions. So like I was saying, am I within range of this? Now, can I attack this goblin? Now can I cast this healing spell on this person? Can I see that? Because that information is all immediately there for you on the board or on the screen, whether it's virtual or not. That information is all there for you. And if the player wants to be able to cast a spell, on this other player or other character, and it's got to be line of sight, they can just look at it and go, oh, gee, I can move how far? I got to position myself right. And then they execute. I think that's a major advantage. So we want to limit to the point of near elimination. But some people say there's some cases and things like that. But I would say limit greatly. I'll say greatly limit. I still think the design goal would be to greatly limit number of questions a player has to ask on a turn. The player needs to be able to execute. Their turn. And like I said, especially if you're trying to constrain the amount of time that this game system the game is actually going to run. Like, so the goal, I think I put this over here. The goal of something like that needs to maximize the amount of adventure and fun in a 3-hour session. I mean, so everything needs to revolve around that. If it's not, so that's why if we're trying to maximize the amount of adventure we can have, if we're trying to maximize the amount of fun that we can have, then cutting out all of the questions about, adjudication of the physical situation is a great thing to do. And also, so number of questions a player, they execute their turn, both physical representation and rules and game rules. HeroQuest also is great with that because the rule system is generally simple. I mean, the rule book is right here. It's a short rule book. So it's not hard to learn anyway. And also it's very easy to pick up, on the fly and just learn how to play. And then there's also the game reference. Basically, your game reference for what your actions are and things like that are on the back of the card. So it's sitting there at the table with you. Sometimes you need to go to the rule book to reference something, but it's not very often. The game system, the game rules does tend to get out of your way with HeroQuest. You're not constantly adjudicating that. You're not having to look up, oh, now, how does the spell work? You know, if you got to cast a spell, the card is right in front of you that tells you, how to cast that spell. So that's really important as well, that we don't want a whole bunch of reference to game rules, because if you're having to ask questions about the game rules too, now, wait a minute, how do I make an attack? Or now, wait a minute, this axe over here, that's why unified game resolution mechanics are good, because you're not having to, no, I know how to make an attack, but I don't know how to pick a lock or something like that. If it's the same mechanic, then everybody would know what to do, because you don't want people asking questions about game rules as much as possible either. So there's the advantage of, there are advantages to things like theater of the mind and the like zone-based. It can still actually be zone-based physical representation. This isn't saying that it can't be zone-based representation, near, far, something's close, near, far, something like that, because you can totally do that. If that's the resolution of the physical system that the game requires, because then you would say it doesn't matter what specific place in this room that you're in. Your token is just showing you that you are in this room. We're not adjudicating at the level of spatial resolution whether you're up in this corner or you're down here in this corner, something like that. You're just in the room. If that's the level of spatial representation that the game requires, then the token should show that to you. That should be very easy. And also that way allow other players, even if you're keeping track of where you are, it does also show you exactly where other players are too, which can be important. Let's see. Lots of comments over here. Foundry is great for people making their game modules. And yet we've got to get back to Foundry. I want to look at that one. I may be closing in on this playing cards because it's so simple. Because we also need it to be simple to set up in general. The HeroQuest is simple to set up. Well, there are two different things about simple to set up. They're simple to set up in order to run a game. Like for now, HeroQuest is pretty simple to set up and run because I've done all of the advanced prep. And every time you play HeroQuest, at least in the basic game system, then what happens is you just need to load that file, and then HeroQuest appears like that, and then you just play. It takes a few days of getting all of that in there, but once you've got all that in there, then you can play any HeroQuest basic quest that you want without issue, with basically no prep time. That takes a little bit of time to upload that and refresh in that software. But we're talking about like 45 seconds or something like that. It's not instant, but it's also only 45 seconds. You could totally do it. But there are two different things. Once you set up a particular dungeon, especially if you're doing something like West Marches where people might visit, like how long does it take to set up a dungeon in prep versus how long does it take to run it versus how many times are you going to get into it? So it'd be really nice if everybody could also play off kind of a standard file. Like here's the game setup. And I got to think about that because you could potentially with some of the more advanced VTTs, like if you want, because you can think about all kinds of things you can do with computers. That's when people I want the dynamic lighting, and I want the fog of war on there, and I want the all these other things that are in fact so cool. But on the other hand, they're not necessary in the strictest sense. So I don't want people to get bogged down in, hey, we got to make something. I don't want to get bogged down with it. Yeah, even if it's an in-person group, bringing a laptop is easier than bringing a bunch of other materials. Yeah, and I played in both kinds of groups where technology is forbidden and then also where technology is completely embraced. I guess it depends on the VTT, but something like playingcards.io, the player picks up all the dice. Yeah, not Drake the rapper. Maxwell Alexander Drake the author. Although if we can get Drake on the stream, we will do that. Drake the Rapper on the stream. Just scanning through here. Yeah, it is. This is definitely, yeah, because there's one of those things that with constraints, when there aren't any constraints, okay, make an RPG. Well, if there are no constraints, well, I have been kind of wandering around. But then as we sort of nail down, okay, what's actually needed, you end up with some constraints, or what's needed and what's possible. You end up with some constraints, and so we may be on our way. A good story is defined as somebody else having a bad time far away. TSL Frontman says, that was a great stream. The interface is all very clear and nothing feels cluttered, even containing the entire table of pieces, cards, and dice. Yeah, it just works. It just works. BGD says 3 hours plus or minus 30 minutes is a great length for an online RPG one-shot session or pickup game. 4 players and a competent GM can get through around 15 rounds of play with an enjoyable pace. Yeah, I agree. Like 2 hours would probably be a bit short, but I think that's excellent, BGD. So 3 hours plus or minus 30 minutes. So maybe a bell curve sitting on 3 hours, extending to 2.5 hours on the low end instead of 2, but 2.5 hours on the low end to 3.5 hours on the high end. I think you're right. You can't. Yes. Now I was thinking about that too. That I could put that here on the channel. Like I could show off now. Hey, here is a 4-minute video or 5-minute video or 2-minute video or whatever it needs to be, depending on the complexity of the game, just to kind of show you how to log in to HeroQuest, what button to click to manipulate things like that. Could totally do that through some kind of video. Yeah, BGD says, if you have a standard file for your game setup beyond large-scale shared world map, you are sort of constraining your concept to more like an old-school mega dungeon rather than true West Marches. Well, yes, I see where you're going here. There is a halfway point, because I was forgetting last night that you can manipulate the playingcards.io board, or what you're seeing. You can edit that live during a game, which helps out. And so I need to practice. I need to look into that, because didn't need to do that with HeroQuest, because HeroQuest was just there. But if you need to put in more maps, you should be able to. So you would have the main file that you load that would load in all of the cards, all the players, all the dice, everything that needs to be loaded there. But then what might change is, for instance, a map might change, or something that you're looking at. So those files could be separate, because that's just what's underneath. And we do that all the time, and we do that all the time physically with the board. I mean, what does everybody need to bring to the table? They bring their dice, their character sheet, their pencil, their books, like James was talking about, your miniatures, and then the game master puts some type of map or board or something like that, and then you use that, and then everybody has to pick up their pieces, and then the board gets swapped out. So I think there's actually a way to do that in playingcards.io. That way, now, an easy way to do it would be to have something like the general HeroQuest board. That, like, here's the HeroQuest board. Then your dungeon changes up what part of the board that's using. So your dungeon is different, but that's easy, and your dungeon can be different. But I believe there's also some way to bring in a new board underneath it. And you might even be able to do that as a background, so you don't have to pick up all the pieces. We're going to see. We're going to see. Hey, Don. Well, there are dice and a spinner. There's both. A real West Marches campaign encourages a GM and player to create encounters within the spaces in between established points of interest with that shared world, and it develops as people play. Well, we will see. We'll see what. I mean, I think that can still be done. But on the other hand, we'll have to see what works for us too. Well, the Rust Marches style game isn't running right now. We're still thinking about that. But I did put up a game tavern. We're still trying to do that. We're still thinking about that. But Don, I put up a link. Somebody might already have. Oh, I bet you can't share the link. Hang, let me post that link again. If you're coming in, oh, now I took down the wrong thing. Okay, so that's up. Okay, hang on. I've got so many windows. If you're interested in playing online games, we're going to see how much interest we've got. Just give me the link. Okay, it's right here. Here, I'll post the link again in the comments. This is just an interest form. So if you're interested, I just put the link again. If you're just coming in, if you're potentially interested, click the link below. They'll just hit the comments. See, that's kind of more West March, a regular RPG session with the constraint that you got to go home every session. You're going out. Yeah. See, it's also possible that what I'm thinking of is going to be more on the game side of things than more like a gamist RPG. Because that helps. See, having more of a gamist style RPG, right? BGD says, I think you are right to look for a sweet spot in the form and malleability of your game as you refine your concept. That's where I'm trying. That's why I'm trying to find. That's why I'm still thinking. But that's what I'm trying to find. And I'm thinking that sliding this slightly more toward the gamist style of things is the direction that I want to go, rather than more of the free form RPG style of things. Because I think that if the goal is to maximize adventure, having a more of a gamist style approach to this will pack in more adventure. I don't know yet, but we will see. We'll see. So in some ways, and I haven't played as much Gloomhaven as I would like. And my brother still said he was going to invite me over to play Frosthaven, and he hadn't done it yet. But something in between Gloomhaven and an RPG. So yeah, Gloomhaven is something like this that's very gamist. So I don't know. So we're looking for something. We're looking for the sweet spot, as BGD is saying. Where'd my notes go? Oh, we're coming up over here. Hey, Brett. Good morning, Brett. Here's my window. And one thing, we're gonna have to go into this deeper on another stream, maybe tomorrow. But if you're trying to do that, one of the things that I would like to have, and because we thought about this for War of Kings, it integrated in War of Kings, is simultaneous play. I mean, BGD was talking about the number of rounds you can get through in 3 hours or something like that. If you're trying to maximize the amount of fun that you're trying to have, maximize the amount of fun and adventure that you're trying to have, I would like for any particular player to be sitting there doing nothing as little as possible. Because there's been a lot of like 5e games where you play your turn and then you're going around in a circle for 5 or 6 players or however many players there are, and it can be a while before it gets back to you. But we need to minimize players sitting still. And I can think of 2 ways to do this off the top of my head. One is a card-based system that I had in the back of my head that's like, well, now I could use this. But one of the best times that I've had in an RPG fighting, and I've been trying to get other people to play this, and it's is the Hackmaster system. Now, I've talked about Hackmaster before, but one of the best times that I had, I was sitting at Gen Con. I was playing with the creators of Hackmaster and other people sitting there at Gen Con as well. And of course, it also helped. They had just a beautiful dwarven forge set up. We were exploring some cavern system. So they had this beautiful dwarven forge cavern system set up, all these painted miniatures and things like that. And we were playing Hackmaster, and we were going in, and this is not the joke. There is a Hackmaster version that is a spoof, but Hackmaster 5th edition, this one right here. Oh, where's my book? Right here. This Hackmaster book is not a spoof or anything like that. This is a serious RPG right here. And so I wanted a chance to play this. And it involves simultaneous play and combat. I mean, effectively, you're never waiting for your turn. Now, sometimes somebody has to execute some kind of task. Okay, this person's executing this task, so they're going to roll, and everybody's looking to see what happens to them. But Hackmaster has simultaneous play during combat, which also means probably what I want to do. Or another note here is separate exploration from combat. HeroQuest, that's all unified in HeroQuest. So this does mean that I want to check. I want to check how advanced HeroQuest does this. Check advanced HeroQuest. It's been a long time since I've looked at that, but I know that it does have, for instance, a system that distinguishes between when you're exploring a dungeon versus when there's actually danger there that you have to fight. But so when you're actually in simultaneous phase, that's when combat has broken out. So if you're trying to explore, there needs to be some type of exploration phase. There also needs to be a time and counter, a time counter or a countdown, whatever. This is just notes. Countdown timer for every quest or adventure. That's one of the weaknesses of HeroQuest. Okay, you can spend as much time as you want. There's no countdown, so there needs to be a countdown timer for every quest and adventure in both exploration phase and combat. Now, I'm talking about dungeon exploration. I'm talking about hex crawling. We got to look at hex crawling later. Both exploration phase and combat. Hackmaster gives you the timer. Inside combat. So, but we need outside of combat as well to adjudicate, like, how much time do you spend exploring or searching, and that needs to be a trade-off. That needs to be a meaningful decision. Because, hey, I'm in this dungeon room. I'll spend an hour combing over every single thing in this room. Well, you might find what's there. The advantage of that is that you're going to increase your chances of finding what's there. Your downside is you're going to be spending a lot of time, and there's some kind of timer or countdown or some kind of danger. The danger dice, or what type of dice was Angry GM using? We looked at. That's why I looked at that. Okay, you can spend that amount of time, fine, but then your time increments are ticking, and there's going to increase the chance that something bad is going to happen to you, and it needs to be. You got to be managing those resources. Has anyone played the Hackmaster combat system? Now, now the downside is the Hackmaster Hackmaster combat system is complicated. Not overly complicated for especially a lot of the people here. But if our design goal is to make sure that we're minimizing, I want to go back and I want to look at the Hackmaster system and see if it can be revised and streamlined. Because if we're trying to pack in the amount of adventure and fun that we can have, we don't want to, and so we decide to go some type of simultaneous play system. We don't accidentally want to make the simultaneous play system so complicated that you got to be checking rule books and everything like that all the time. Then you'd be defeating your purpose and going backwards. So one of the next things I want to do is look at streamlining this, because I think one game design philosophy then also would be, if this is the way that's going, this would be the core of the game. Everything needs to be built around this core. If this is the core of the game, then build around this core. Like, where are people spending most of their time during that 3-hour session? Probably fighting monsters and stuff. And then the second phase, you probably spend the second most time in dungeon exploration kinds of activities, and then you spend the third most, or the third or the least amount of time actually in the hex crawl phase. So, but the game would need to support this, because even though this would represent only a few seconds, this is when things are fast, they're intense, they're going to be simultaneous played, dramatic things happening. This is actually could be the go with the exploding dice, like Mark is talking about. All of a sudden, you can be in combat. You're all of a sudden going second by second. You're simultaneously playing, and some goblin like whacks the thief like in a major way, or then you're suddenly able to bring down the chaos warrior or whatever it is. The other way is that the other way, I'll put a 2 down here just in case you're wondering. The other way would be something about simultaneous decision making. If this doesn't end up working, if something like this doesn't end up working, then simultaneous decision making about your action, I think, is the thing to do. That way, everybody's thinking at the same time. This means that everyone is thinking at the same time. Games like the Game of Thrones strategy game back there. That's Game of Thrones, the board game. There are games like often it's a system that's often used when you're ordering armies. Like, okay, everybody order an army if you're playing a war game, and play some type of token or play some type of card by it or something like that that's going to tell that unit what it's going to do that round. And now then so everybody's thinking at the same time and putting out their cards or their order tokens or whatever. And then once everybody's done with that, then everything executes. There's no more thinking because all the thinking has been done and everybody did that at the same time. You're not waiting for somebody else to, oh, no, hold on, I got to think. Everybody was doing their thinking at the same time. Then the game goes to the execution phase, and that everybody and then all the orders are executed. So I was thinking you could do something like that in an RPG as well. Make the decision making simultaneous. That way everyone is thinking at the same time, and then it all executes. And everybody watches the execution quickly. So the execution wouldn't be simultaneous. The thinking would be simultaneous. So that would mean that you would need like action cards. This is why the card-based way to go. So everybody's got what they can do in their hand. And now, all right, think about what you're going to do. And then the game master could also be adjudicating the monsters. What are the monsters going to do? And then I was thinking there could be something like initiative cards. Everybody's got a card in the initiative deck. And that initiative deck is shuffled. So you don't exactly you know what action you're going to execute, but you don't know exactly when you're going to be able to execute that action with regard to everybody else. Because we got chaos of combat. We're in the middle of combat right now. So your action, your initiative card is turned over. You execute your action. Next initiative card, so pay attention because you don't know, oh, I got 3 more, rounds. You know that your initiative call could be coming up. Initiative call, execute your action. Initiative call, execute your action. Make that go fast. Now, next round, everybody think about what kind of an action you're going to take again. So those are 2 different ways, I think, to bring in more simultaneous play and to keep people from having to sit there at the board. I want people, especially when a fight breaks out, which, hey, let's face it, this game should be about fighting some monsters. Especially when a fight breaks out, everybody should be engaged and it should be chaotic. The worst thing that happens, maybe not the worst, but one of the worst things that happens in like 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is you've got this really intense situation where people are about to staring down each other. Is there going to be a fight or is there not? Somebody draws a dagger to stab somebody else up through up under the ribs. Sounds like a dramatic moment, and it sounds like exactly when everybody should be engaged and leaning in. Oh my God, somebody drew a dagger. What's going to happen? There's all this, the chaos that's about to come in. Except for in 5th edition, that's exactly when everybody goes and takes a break. Oh, somebody drew a dagger. Okay, everybody, and goes to stab you. Okay, everybody roll initiative. Okay, I got to come up with everybody's initiative number. Okay, now hold on. I got to sort everybody's initiative over here. That breaks, like, combat should be fun and fast and snappy right there. And 5th edition breaks it right there. That's when people stand up. Okay, rolled my initiative. My initiative number is this. And then they stand up and go make a sandwich. Like, that is not the time you want people to be standing up and going and making a sandwich. Anyway, that's the game design philosophy. Let's go over here to the comments. So I guess so maybe even tomorrow we may take a deep dive into Hackmaster here and seeing what we can do to improve it using some of our philosophies of Faded Edge and also some of the philosophies that Mark Tassin has been working on for the Cool Name RPG. Sable Phoenix says, suggestion, don't try to adhere to a particular model of how a game was run in the past. Let the strictures of the digital interaction forum dictate the particulars of the campaign. And that is why I said up there at the start, let's design this for digital first, for this kind of interaction first. Yeah, let's try that. So if there are things that do work, if you've got 6 people sitting around a table, it might not work as well, or you might need to do different things digitally. So I think that's true. I think Blades in the Dark. Oh, we do need to look at Blades in the Dark. Gets a good that keeps coming up. Blades in the Dark does need to be one that we need to do a morning grind on here very soon, because that keeps coming up, and I keep trying to get to that too. I've moved around my stuff, my game notes, but Blades in the Dark is on the notes. Maybe there'll be maybe in the future there'll be a Raven Keep style campaign. Maybe so. Exactly. Maybe so. Yeah, I know. Sable Phoenix brings that up too, so that's soon. Maybe in the next couple of days we need to look at that. What time is it? It is right now. It is 11:20 a.m. in the morning. Well, a.m. in the morning. Talk about some redundancy. It's 11:20 in the morning. I start the show, yes, sometimes a few minutes late, but typically the morning grind starts at 9:30 a.m. my time. Neutromancer says, when I GM, I usually limit a conflict to N number of rounds. BGD says there's a new indie RPG system called Grit from Gnomebot Studios that integrates player turns each game round specifically to reduce the potential for player disengagement you mentioned. Oh, well, that sounds like one. Oh, here's my notes. Let me write that down. Is this interesting? Yeah, that's in the online format, it's at least, I mean, to me, it's a problem at the table too, but it's especially a problem in the online format because, I log in and I'm sitting here in the office and I got the internet and I got, a whole bunch of other stuff that I could be doing. I don't want to just sit here watching, at least in person, you've got the physical interaction with people and stuff like that. But if there's disengagement in the online format, I mean, that's it. To me, I really feel it. I don't want to just log into something and watch something. So the execution, when somebody's executing something, you should still be engaged. And actually, that is an argument for the exploding dice and things like that. Now, I had exploding dice in Faded Edge, was going to have it, but I was using something different. But Mark makes a very cogent argument, I thought, on that on the table talk that we had. If you watch the one with Mark Tassin, where he was talking about Cool Name RPG, he's been on the table talk before, but it was a great discussion on game design. And that's one way to make people pay attention, I was just thinking, to other people's dice rolls. Because if you know that what people are doing, things aren't generally going to change that much, you're not watching them. But if at any moment, especially in combat, somebody could get crit hitted bad, that something at any moment it is combat, it's battle, melee combat, something really dramatic could happen at any time. We talked about that being the difference between HeroQuest and Dragon Strike. Now, HeroQuest, a hero is not going to be one-shotted from full strength. But something like an orc can still deal 3 points of damage. And a game like Dragon Strike, any particular attack can only ever deal 1 point of damage, which has there are advantages and disadvantages. It's all style of play. But if you've got a system, so but in a game like Dragon Strike, then if there are 4 monsters on the board and it's other people's turns, you can kind of look away, whatever, because it's not going to change that much. But if you can, like, somebody can get get their head torn off, all of a sudden be down. Oh my God, we should be paying attention to this because it could change at any moment. Time performing tasks. Again, look at Blades in the Dark. That's exactly what their clock system is designed for. Okay, so Blades in the Dark, it's got to be done soon. Grit. Okay, should definitely review Grit when it's released. Oh, it's not quite out yet. Okay, I put a note down here. TSL Frontman says something that helped a few of these priorities are at once. Simply, instead of normal roll to move, a single player rolls a d6 and every player adds that to their movement. That is a common change in HeroQuest. The random movement does work in HeroQuest because that's one of the things that can foil a hero's plans. Because there's no, in HeroQuest, being that there's no time constraint, but at least when the monsters are on the board, if you need to get over there but you roll low, that's a reason why the hero's plans might not work out. So that's one of the reasons that it's actually necessary in that game. The rolling to move is weird when there are no monsters on the board, but when there are monsters on the board, it can become significant because you may not be able to get where you need to get. But I think in a game like this, I'm talking right here, the more standard here's how much you move makes more sense. That cuts down on having to roll dice. Instead of having to roll the dice and see how many movement points you've got, you always move 6 squares or 5 squares or 4 squares or whatever it is for movement. It makes more sense. It cuts that out. Cuts down that dice roll. Then they choose and decide their turn orders together. "5e has too many actions in a turn and too many options to choose from. The higher the level, the worse it gets." Yeah. Now, I think we need more than HeroQuest. I mean, HeroQuest is pretty simple. So I think that we need more than HeroQuest. And we also want to talk about atmosphere and stuff like that. I love HeroQuest. But I'm thinking for a style like this, we need more than HeroQuest. But you don't want to have too many actions, right? There, you don't want analysis paralysis. And I don't feel too constrained when I'm playing HeroQuest. I mean, when I sit here and think about different things in HeroQuest, okay, maybe rolling to move, but there are reasons to keep it in. It's got very random dice combat. The big thing is that it's lack of time. But, you could add in all kinds of things like, no, we want to be able to individually, not just search rooms for treasure. I want to be able to search individual pieces of furniture for treasure. I want to be able to do major attack versus defensive attack. I want to be able to, you could add in a whole bunch of stuff like that. But on the other hand, there's simplicity is something to strive for. Well, who was it that was you arrive at perfection not when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing more to take away? Wasn't that who was that? That's the kind of thing that, like, okay, here, it's your turn. Here, there's 20 things you could possibly do. How about there are 6 things you could possibly do or something like that? Reactions is one way to do it. I'm still interested. I'm following what the dungeon coach is doing. Robert says, that's why Pool of Radiance's overhead combat system by SSI was so awesome. Complex rules for computer rolls initiative and moves NPCs automatically. Had it so you can encounter a few dozen foes. Yes. So here is a creative constraint. So if you have the AI, if you have a computer playing that, and then yes, plug it in. Right. I mean, that's a huge advantage. But on the other hand, if you were trying to do this all by hand, I mean, by hand as in, physically at the table or physically digitally, if that's a thing, you've got to have it so that it can be in everybody's heads. Right, exactly. So what's what Sable's saying here. Perfection, Nutrimancer Creighton here says, perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. Right. On streamlining for optimization, Coco Channel said, before you leave the house, look in the mirror and take one thing off. Like your shirt. Hopefully, maybe not your pants. Probably talking about accessorizing. Probably what Coco was talking about. Okay. Having a floating card or something with a list of action types like HeroQuest did can cut down on paralysis, but it can lead to mech piloting syndrome. Everything is a balance. Is there a specific Dungeon Coach video you could link to in the Discord? Actually, this would be a good thing to end on. I was watching a playlist of his. I have not watched all of his videos. I was trying. He had put together a playlist on his design philosophy for the DC 20 RPG. So let me see if my DC 20 RPG playlist. A few days ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago now, I went through and just watched his playlist on this design. So I'll put this in here. DC 20 design playlist. Maybe one day we can talk to him on Table Talk. DC 20 design playlist. I just put that. No, oh, I didn't click enter. Now I did. So right there. I will also put that in the Discord server. Let's also put that on the Discord server in RPG development. I'll put this in the RPG development. Dungeon Coaches. DC 20 design playlist. I might not have watched all of them. In fact, I should probably, I might go through that myself, but I was watching that. So I think that's also a good one from a design philosophy perspective. He's talking about, I think he does, and Sable talks about this, come out of mainly all of 5e kind of game, but he's been integrating some things from Pathfinder, including the number of actions, like the action system, but he's changing that up. I think he's right. I think he's right on the way he changes up the Pathfinder 3 action system. Because initially I was really big on the Pathfinder 3 action system. I was like, oh, this is nice. But he even takes it a step further and I think improves it. He also, one thing I would be interested in looking at, I didn't know that Shad and Jazza did an RPG. Shad from Shadiversity. And apparently he said on that he was a design consultant. It's called Cogent. And for some reason, Shad, I like watching Shad on Shadiversity because he's so much fun and he just loves what he's doing. But I didn't know he made an RPG. So one time one night or one morning, we might have to look at Cogent. So especially since because it's Shad and Jazza, and then also the Dungeon Coach as a design philosophy. So a design consultant. So we will see. Cogent, yeah. And it's free. See, yeah, somebody was. I said that I liked watching Shad and Shadiversity. You know, if you haven't seen Shadiversity, I mean, probably everybody has. But you know, the reason that I liked watching Shadiversity, because somebody came down on me, like in the comments section. I can't believe you like watching Shad because there are a whole bunch of other channels that are much better for historical, historical material and historical analysis and things like that. And I'm not denying that in any way, because I also like there are other channels that also do that kind of stuff, and some of them in much more technical ways, or just as far as like history goes, presenting history, or analyzing armor and stuff like that. But I love Shad because they are so enthusiastic, and in a world where there's so much negativity, and that's why we try to be positive and constructive over here. That's one of my philosophies. That I don't want to sit here and just talk about it. Welcome to the Morning Grind, where we talk about everything we hate. I found some more stuff that's absolutely horrible today, and let's talk about how horrible it is, and let's talk about all the terrible things that happened today. And I woke up and I just got angry, and so I'm going to share my anger with you. And I don't want to do that. I prefer to be more positive. And Shad is definitely positive. I will watch Shad's videos, and he will, he loves what he's doing. Like, whatever it is, you watch him, and he is just loving whatever. Like, how can we actually drink a potion in the middle of combat? Shad's going to be out in the backyard trying to fight something and drink his potions and stuff like that. And that's why I like his videos so much, because he just loves what he's doing. And it's so great to have that kind of positivity. Yeah. He had a meltdown about sword girls. Oh, I don't think I saw that. So who knows? I mean, there's a lot of material out there, but I enjoy watching, like, when he's doing like the Shattered, trying to draw the sword from his back and stuff like that. TSL Frontman has a question here. Oh, how much of this game do you intend to be deliberately vague or interpretable? Much of how HQ is played is not raw, and so everyone does it a little different. Well, see, my thing was that I think HeroQuest needs to be cleaned up, right? And I didn't realize how much of that was just adjudication until you start playing, until the internet was a thing. And then like, oh no, how do other people interpret different rules? So I think that's a problem, especially for like a second edition. By the time it came out again, I would want to clean that up and not have to have, especially if people are playing in, okay, I'm calling it West Marches, but whatever this kind of system is, I don't want, I think you need a less you don't want ambiguity. That way, especially if you're swapping up game masters and you're swapping up players, then you need less ambiguity. Well, he does do social. See, he did get into social commentary. I guess I didn't see the sword thing. So he's got this other channel that is Night's Watch, the Night's Watch, and I don't follow that one because I think he does all the social commentary on that channel. Because yeah, I mean that's so. There are a lot of channels that do that kind of stuff. So I don't follow the Night's Watch. I just watch his videos on. I'm in the backyard. And plus, just the videos about something like I mean, it's completely geeky. That are like, let's say that you've got to go that a lizard man is going down into a dungeon and has to fight skeletons, but he's only has a halfling with him. What type of weapon would the lizard man really use? That's a bit of an exaggeration, but you know, it's like that level of analysis. All right. Anyway, so I gotta get it here. So we went long. That's okay. So that's what's going on. I've got a bunch of things to do. Let me put that link. Let me put that link to the game sign up. This is just expressing interest. We know we see if we can some kind of critical mass. Wait, and maybe we get HeroQuest started, and you know there are other things that we can come up with later. But we'll just see. We'll just start and see what happens and see what works. Once we've got some number of people who are interested. Where did my link go with all these different things? So Ravenkeep Online Gaming. Interest form. If you're just coming in here, you don't have to scroll back up. I'll just put a link right there. So yeah, so I want to look at. We'll probably go into the Hackmaster kind of thing tomorrow and look at that. But we also need to look at Blades in the Dark. So that might be the next 2 days. That might be the best the next 2 days. I'm going to try to clean up those last few bugs in the HeroQuest game, and then I'd do some other things here. This is already Wednesday. This is Thursday. This is already Thursday. Whoa! All right. So everybody, be creative, be constructive, and grind on. Later.